back to Astrovision, Spirituality, and Tarot. So in this video, we're going to be discussing the compatibility through Synastry in regards to Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. Now, if you're familiar with these two, then you should be aware at the fact that these two women do not like each other. Cardi B consistently throws her subliminal shots at Nicki Minaj, and she vocalizes her hatred for Nicki Minaj, and Nicki puts it in the music, and she lets her fans speak for her, and these two really do not like each other. And recently, with the rumors swirling about Cardi B being a cop caller and kind of, using her Libra energy to be manipulative and secretively call the police on Nicki Minaj and her husband. And so now Nicki Minaj's husband has to sit at home on house arrest due to some false fabrication. So allegedly, he was on live and he was, vocalizing how he will pull up on anybody who has something to say about his wife. Okay, I can respect it. And I can respect Nicki Minaj going and getting with her husband. Unpopular opinion. But basically my point that I'm trying to make here is that I can respect Nicki going and finding and sourcing out a man such as her husband who is this alpha man who, he does have a handful of mugshots, but allegedly he is a kingpin. Allegedly he will pull up and he will protect his wife and he will protect his children. You know what I'm saying? And if he has to use some force of violence, he might necessarily do that. And since Nicki has been with her husband, you definitely have seen a lot of other men who are commentators or bloggers or whatever have you really quiet down and tone down their delivery on how harsh they have been on her, because it's apparent that Nicki has had her foot in some quicksand. She has gone through a hate train or whatever, and there were a lot of people pulling her down and kicking her while she already was down, and it was apparent that it was a lot of men doing this. You did have women who necessarily didn't like Nicki Minaj due to what she stands for, whatever have you, but it was a lot of men doing this with big platforms, spreading the hate, and vocalizing the hate. And so once Nicki did get with her husband, you really did see a lot of this energy get watered down. It kind of evaporated in a way. And that can be due to part of who her husband is. You know what I'm saying? Allegedly, this man is a notorious gangster or a notorious dark-sided man who has some criminal charges. He has a handful of mugshots. Now, I can't respect some of his charges, but I could respect him pulling up to protect his family and to protect his wife. I 100% am going to stand behind that. You know what I'm saying? Now, the way he went about it and going and taking it to the online, taking it to the social media was a little childish. He just so happened to get on social media and he got caught up behind that due to his charges and due to his background and things like that. And to be honest, Nicki Minaj and her husband should have just taken the high road in this situation, because now he is having to sit on house arrest, and this is probably going to slow down some production on Nicki Minaj's side of things, dealing with her music and dealing with her having to come out and perform, because I'm pretty sure she feels safer when she is in the presence of her husband. That is usually how it goes with married women. They feel safe when they're with their husband. You know what I'm saying? Same thing for Cardi B. She felt safe making those threats while she was with her husband. But it's just unfortunate that Nicki Minaj's husband is being held accountable due to Cardi B feeling uncomfortable at an event or feeling threatened at an event. And she talks a lot of stuff, and we're going to get to that while discussing their synastry. And I do feel like this was a trap. From Cardi's team. Since these two are enemies, this could have been set up from Cardi's team to purposely throw Nicki Minaj off so she can have to slow down her production. You know what I'm saying? Especially since they probably knew that Cardi was going to flop with that whack-ass song. I'm just going to keep it 100. Cardi is not an artist. She's an entertainer. She's a performer. She's very performative and very good at it. But at the end of the day, she's not an artist. She is not an artist. She's not a Left Eye. She's not a Nicki Minaj. She's not an Iggy Azalea. She's not an Azalea Banks. She's not creative at all. Like, what has Cardi contributed to music other than leeching off of Nicki Minaj's image. And that's it. I'll leave it at that. But we're going to discuss their synastry. We're going to compare their charts through astrology. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that. And so the first aspect that really brought my attention or came to my attention had to deal with Cardi's Libra sun sitting in Nicki Minaj's 8th house. And with Cardi's Libra sun sitting in Nicki Minaj's 8th house, this can deal with Cardi and Nicki having a love or hate relationship for each other, because that 8th house has to deal with open enemies, it deals with exposed enemies, and it can deal with hatred as well. You know, the 8th house at its lower vibration for sure can deal with hatred. And when we're talking about the 8th house, it's ruled by Scorpio, so this energy tends to operate from a duality form. So it's either love or hate. You know, there's no in between with the energies of the 8th house. And with Cardi having her son in Nicki's house, this can be an indicator of Nicki having influence and impact that can transform Cardi for better or worse. And this is really seen with Cardi and Nicki and their relationship. They actually have the possibility to transform each other. Now, since this is the 8th house and Cardi has her son here, she's going to be able to outshine Nicki in these 8th house things. But again, since this is the 8th house and the sun is a fire element type energy, the 8th house is ruled by a water element. So the expression of the sun definitely can be watered down. And this is why you see Cardi B doing a lot of mirroring when it comes to Nicki Minaj. Her self-expression can be watered down in this house, and she can piggyback off of Nicki Minaj's self-expression. Since these two are enemies, this is kind of that copycat tit-for-tat behavior going on, because the 8th house also has to deal with other people's belongings. It deals with other people's possessions. So Cardi for sure can be replicating the expression of Nicki Minaj. You know what I'm saying? Especially with her son sitting in Nicki's 8th house. So it's either love with them or it's hate with them. And in this case, when it comes to Nicki and Cardi, you can obviously see that these two have some hatred for each other. I do believe that some of the hate that is going on between these two can be justified because Cardi is a Libra. So she is going to be prone to, you know, being diplomatic and taking a more passive approach to things, a more softer approach to things. And that can deal with Cardi and Nicki being subliminal towards each other. They're always throwing subliminal shots, whether it's in the music or it's on social media, it's in some type of documentation, a tweet, an Instagram post, or whatever. So since the sun deals with creative expression and it deals with how we assert ourselves, you know, how we want to perform and really mask ourselves to the public. And since her son falls in Nicki's 8th house, she really can mirror Nicki Minaj and she can replicate a lot of the things that Nicki Minaj does. You know what I'm saying? And this is how Cardi can be transformed into Nicki Minaj. And so this also can point to Cardi being obsessive and compulsive with Nicki. She can consider Nicki being physically attractive, promiscuous, and mysterious, and even magnetic to her. On the other hand, Nicki could view Cardi as confident, courageous, overexposed, shallow in some cases. She also could view Cardi as attention-seeking and independent. And since Cardi's son is here, she's able to overshine Nicki in these areas of the 8th house. You know what I'm saying? The sun can overshine this energy for a moment, but since this is Nicki's house, Nicki will be able to eclipse her in some aspects. And, you know, an eclipse is a memorable thing. So Nicki is going to be able to have that stronger impact in this area. But in most cases, Cardi will still outshine Nicki in this house. You know, Nicki will still have her moments to outshine Cardi. And when Nicki does, they'll be memorable. But when Cardi does it, it's more so going to be her thing. It's going to be something she's known for doing because the sun is in the 8th house. And the sun can be an overexposed, attention-seeking type of energy. Also, Cardi and Nicki could secretly admire each other, especially when it comes to their ego and just having that woman-to-woman type of energy. But spiritualistically, these two are opposites, and these two aren't really going to get along. And Nicki's Saturn is in Scorpio, squaring Cardi's Mercury in Scorpio, which can deal with Nicki viewing Cardi as a fraud. You know what I'm saying? She could view Cardi as a parasite or a threat to her legacy. While Cardi could see Nicki as someone to learn from, and she could view Nicki as someone who is mature in this area, and she also could see Nicki as someone who has accumulated a lot of prominence and respect. Also, Cardi could be secretly observing Nicki, and she could be studying Nicki Minaj's legacy and her career as well, since her Mercury is in Scorpio. And that mercurial energy has to deal with academics, so Cardi very much so could be studying and learning from Nicki Minaj in secret. And she could be doing this behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? This is something that she might keep in her head and she doesn't share with other people. And this is very much so apparent. You know, she does really mirror Nicki Minaj. She really is like that bootleg version. You know what I'm saying? Like, people who want that raunchier, less sophisticated version of Nicki Minaj, they can go and turn on some Cardi B, because that's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get that less sophisticated, raunchier, amped up, amplified version of the hood, all the way around girl. You're going to get that from Cardi. Whereas with Nicki, you're going to get a little bit more culture. You're going to get a little bit more sophistication. She's going to use more grammar, and she's going to use a bit more substance within the things that she speaks about and the things that she says. And so this is just very interesting with Cardi having her son sit in Nicki's 8th house. You know what I'm saying? And with Cardi having her Mercury in Scorpio, that really makes this interesting even more, because that can point to Cardi B studying after Nicki Minaj. You know what I'm saying? But since this energy is squaring Nicki Minaj's Saturn in Scorpio, this can point towards Nicki Minaj seeing Cardi B as a leech and seeing Cardi B as a thief and a threat to her empire that she's built. Because Saturn does represent the reputation in astrology. And with Saturn being under the influence of Scorpio, this can point to an indicator of Nicki Minaj's prominence and her legacy and also her impact within hip-hop. And since Cardi's Mercury is squaring this energy, this could also deal with Nicki having a hard time respecting Cardi B's credibility when it comes to Cardi having shared experiences about struggles and traumas within the public. So Nicki Minaj very much so will be able to relate to Cardi B about Cardi B's struggles and her pains, you know, even if it's not spot on. But again, like woman to woman, them seeing eye to eye, Nicki very much so will be able to relate to Cardi B because she has that Saturn in Scorpio, you know. But at the end of the day, since her Saturn in Scorpio is squaring Cardi's Mercury in Scorpio, she can see Cardi B as a liar in most times. And Nicki could dislike Cardi B's approach about how she gains the respect and the attention from others. You know what I'm saying? Due to Cardi B's Mercury being in Scorpio, she's going to be prone to making things up and keeping secrets, but also blackmailing and even stealing ideas. You know, people who have their Mercury in Scorpio, they could be known for doing that. And they also can take the thoughts of others, because that energy of Scorpio is all about having to claim things that don't belong to them. And with Cardi having this placement, this literally can point towards Cardi using other people to write her lyrics and her speeches and the things that she says to get respect. You know what I'm saying? Because that Scorpio energy is all about respect, but it's about getting that tough respect, gaining those stripes on the street. You know what I'm saying? So it's about kind of like that street credibility. But Nicki isn't going to respect Cardi because she sees through Cardi's facade. She sees through Cardi's fakeness, basically, with her having that Saturn and Scorpio. Nicki knows about having to get out the mud, and we're going to talk about that later. But with Cardi having this energy, she very much so can use ghostwriters, but still try to proclaim to be like in this top position as a rapper, but not really write any of her material. And also with Cardi having this Gemini South Node that she's working with, because I did make a video on her, and you guys can check that out if you want to. I kind of have to re-upload it because it's been copywritten. I just know that video, like, the views are frozen, but it is on my channel, and you can check out her natal reading if you want to. But with Cardi having this Gemini South Node, this literally can point to her being a spiritual op of Nicki's, because that Gemini energy is the opposite energy of Sagittarius. And you can see this with Nicki in most cases. She really does embody a Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is, they're known for really taking that morally correct way of doing things, even if some narcissism is attached or incorporated in some way of them having to teach the right or wrong way of doing things. So these people definitely can be preachers, motivational speakers, philosophers, and they really can go out here and preach, but they have issues with being big hypocrites and not practicing what they're preaching. Sagittariuses can struggle with that, but Nicki Minaj very much so will be a great teacher. She'll have a lot of wisdom, and she does display that as a Sagittarius, and she'll really respect the right way of doing things versus the immoral way of doing things. And since Cardi has this Scorpio and Mercury, but also this Gemini and South Node, she'll be more comfortable using the ideas of other people and even stealing people's intellectual property. You know what I'm saying? And she'll be more comfortable taking the more convenient route. Gemini energy really can represent conveniency. So Cardi B will be more prone to taking an easier approach, while Nicki Minaj knows about hard work and she knows about lessons and having to find your purpose within that. And that's why Nicki potentially can really struggle with respecting Cardi B, especially with Cardi having that Gemini South Node. Now, at a point, in Cardi B's life, she definitely can be on her Sagittarius North Node energy, and she can really work towards embodying some of the qualities that Nicki displays. You know what I'm saying? I would say from, the recent single that Cardi has put out, with her featuring Megan Thee Stallion and that Bongos record, I definitely would say she's on some middle ground and she's working towards being on her Sagittarius North Node, and she definitely tries to display some of her intellect, even if she may struggle with using too much provocative speech and things like that. She does have that Scorpio and Mercury, so she can struggle with the lack of professionalism, and we're going to get into that as well, because Nicki is known for being very professional. She does have that Virgo moon, so Nicki also can have problems with respecting Cardi B in those areas as well when it comes to just the business and how things are being ran. This square that they're working with, with Cardi having her Mercury in Scorpio square Nicki's Saturn in Scorpio, this can point towards Cardi still kind of being fresh, being youthful within this energy. You know what I'm saying? That Mercurial energy is all about having to learn. It has to deal with academics and things like that. And on the other hand, Saturn can represent someone who has mastered this energy and they have gone through all the lessons. So Nicki has gone through all those scorpionic lessons that Mercury is still currently teaching Cardi B in this life. And so Nicki Minaj will be able to relate to Cardi B when she speaks about it, but that's the thing. Cardi will only be able to put it in words because that's what Mercury energy is all about. So Cardi will be able to communicate about this energy and really talk about it and express it in that way. But in most cases, she probably hasn't gone through it or hasn't been through the ringer like someone who has Saturn in Scorpio, like Nicki Minaj herself. So when Nicki Minaj is telling you that, she's really done had to work hard to build her career, build her reputation, and overcome things that may have been scorpionic to her, that's very much so true with her. And when it comes to Cardi B, this energy is still fresh for her. It's still something that she's learning, and she's learning how to master. And this definitely is seen with Cardi B saying horrendous things and distasteful things. Cardi B can be known for just having a very vile mouth, and a lot of Scorpios can be known for having disrespectful mouths. And their words at most times, you know what I'm saying, when they're being real, they can sting and they can cut deep with their delivery sometimes. Since Nicki Minaj also is a Sagittarius woman, she is going to know that there are certain things that you cannot come back from saying, especially with her having that Saturn in Scorpio. She's probably built a reputation for burning bridges and destroying relationships by being scorpionic. So Nicki Minaj knows about this energy, and she knows that you just can't go around spewing a bunch of hate. And that's how reckless Cardi B is. You know what I'm saying? Cardi B is very much so reckless like that. Cardi B actually goes to social media and goes on live and things, and she's just very disrespectful and very vocal about her hate towards the people that she may dislike. And again, Nicki very much so will be able to understand Cardi B's frustrations, but she just won't respect the way that Cardi goes about it. You know what I'm saying? She won't respect her approach when it comes to Cardi expressing these things in communication. And with Nicki having her Mercury and Sagittarius as well, you know, these people definitely can take that high road at times, and they can possibly even take it to the Lord or pray about it. That Sagittarius energy has to deal with luck. So these people can get lucky in conversation, or you really can like catch them dodging bullets when it comes to certain words. Like they really know how to be spontaneous in a way to where they can laugh themselves out of a situation. You know, the Sagittarius, a fire sign, really can do that. They can have a humorous way or a sarcastic way out of getting out of some trouble. Whereas someone like Cardi B, someone with that Mercury and Scorpio, they're going to be prone towards dumping their trauma onto people. You know, they're going to be prone towards taking their secrets and extorting people, or using other people's secrets to really abuse and control situations. And these people love to have power in situations dealing with communication. So being emotionally manipulative definitely is a top quality of someone with Mercury and Scorpio. And this is seen with Cardi B herself. Everyone knows she cries for sympathy, and she really does manipulate the public with her trauma and with her pain to gain respect and to gain some type of credibility. And it's like, okay, everybody's done had hard times, everybody's done been there, everybody's done struggled, so what are you getting at, Cardi B? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you getting at, girl? You know? And that's probably how Nicki Minaj can look at her in some cases. And not to say that Cardi B doesn't actually have trauma and doesn't actually have pain, and she isn't allowed to express that, and like she's not valid. You know, she 100% can be valid in that, but her approach in most cases looks like she's crying wolf. It looks like she's trying to save face, like she's trying to use that to get out of some questions, to get out of some interrogation about herself. And Scorpios, you know, people who have that Mercury in Scorpio, they can be known for being smart in this area. You know, that Scorpio energy has to deal with investigation, and it can deal with detective skills. And so these people will be sharp in that area. And so a person like Cardi B will know how to control conversations and kind of get her way out of bad situations through communication. So if Cardi B is ever being interrogated or questioned by some detectives, some police officers, or anybody like that, I'm pretty sure she knows how to play her role. You know, an Oscar-winning role at that. Scorpios will be sharp with it, you know. And when it comes to interrogating other people and getting some information out of other people, these people are very proficient in that area. They have a lot of power in that area. And so I definitely, you know, do believe Cardi B in some cases when she's expressing her pain, but in most scenarios when she hops on live and she's just going at it and she's being very aggressive and very vicious for no specific reason, I just think, you know, that's her having a mental breakdown or just displaying some traumatic behavior. But I also do believe that it's a coping mechanism for her so she can escape having to deal with people's questions about her. You know, because Scorpios, people who have that Mercury in Scorpio, they're very secretive. Very, very secretive. And this is because they don't want to be questioned about the shameful acts that they may or may not have committed. And Cardi B is known for doing sinister things, and she's known for committing shameful acts. So this is why she goes on all these rants. This is why she's crying in courtrooms, being very emotionally manipulative to get herself out of situations. And it's because that Mercury is in Scorpio. And, you know, she's expressed that she's drugged and robbed men to make a way for herself and to really climb into a prominent spot. And that can be seen with this Mercury in Scorpio. And just with her having the knowledge to know how to do that, that's very Scorpionic. her going about this way to gain respect and to use it to get attention, this is why Nicki doesn't really respect her, personally, especially with Nicki having her Saturn and Scorpio square this energy. She is not going to be prone to respecting Cardi B at all. She's just going to view Cardi B as a liar, as a fraud, and pathetic. She's going to see Cardi B as pathetic. And with Cardi having her Mercury and Scorpio square Nicki's placement, it's just going to be a tough time for Cardi expressing her trauma and her pain and struggles to Nicki, because Nicki may have a hard time believing Cardi B. She may have a hard time taking Cardi B serious. You know what I'm saying? Because Nicki actually possibly may have been through the things that Cardi B jokes about to get attention about and to try to get some stripes about in the streets. Nicki actually may have been through those things. And that's why this is one of those aspects that can play into them being enemies. And this aspect can play into their communication being totally damaged. You know what I'm saying? Nicki Minaj is going to see herself above Cardi B. She's going to see herself too grown in areas where Cardi B is maybe too childish and still learning and having to gain some reality checks. With this energy, Nicki definitely is going to be the more mature, seasoned one, the one who actually has mastered these skills. And so Nicki can just be prone to little girling Cardi B. You know what I'm saying? Like treating her like a little girl, treating her like a child, and not really giving her that respect. When the adults are talking, the children are to hush and they're to disappear and go play. And so that is how Nicki could potentially treat Cardi, especially if they're in the same rooms. Nicki may not even acknowledge Cardi at all with this energy. She may not even acknowledge Cardi. She may even try to narrate the room's attention towards her, because that Saturn and Scorpio energy can be very powerful when it comes to their presence as far as reputation and them having to step in the public. So Cardi B can take the microphone, but Nicki can step into the room and everybody's eyes are on Nicki with this energy. With Nicki having this Saturn and Scorpio placement, this is what makes her appear as this cold-hearted individual, or just as this tough, mean girl to other people. People are just prone to naturally disliking her for some reason, or prone to seeing her as a villain in some cases. And that's due to this Saturn being in Scorpio. So these people will lie, they will kill, they will die, they will steal, they will cheat for their possessions, and not even only that, for their career, for their position within their career. And Nicki is notorious for really expressing her pain and her trial and tribulations and what she had to do to get to the top. And even though she may not fully disclose and fully talk about the darkness, you can tell that she's been surrounded by a lot of darkness. She's in that prime position, you know what I'm saying, as a female, holding it down for a generation of females, but the only one for so long surrounded by a bunch of men. You'd have to imagine what she had to, say no to, turn down, and try to escape at times, try to survive from at times, because that's what that Saturn and Scorpio energy can represent. So you never know what Nicki Minaj had to go through in the music industry, being the only top, prime, popular, mainstream female rapper in hip-hop. You never know what she actually had to go through. And then again, she's a celebrity, and she's this bubbly, persona barbified type chick who's very, bubblegum personified. But at the end of the day, having to mask all of your trauma and your pain with that image, it's gotta be tough. You know what I'm saying? It's gotta be tough. And I'm pretty sure Cardi B can relate to Nicki Minaj since stepping into her world. But at the end of the day, these two are just going to clash, and they're not going to respect each other. And this actually could pain Cardi more than Nicki, because since Nicki has her Saturn and Scorpio, she isn't going to really be caring about Cardi B. She isn't really going to see Cardi B as a threat in most cases, really. But Cardi, since Cardi is learning about this energy, she really does look at Nicki Minaj as this master, and she really does look at Nicki Minaj as this teacher. And so since Nicki Minaj is shunning her away with this aspect, and kind of like shaming her in some cases and really not acknowledging her, this actually can pain Cardi B, especially if Cardi B has extended her hand or tried to be vulnerable towards Nicki Minaj in some areas, or even tried to, really express how she felt about Nicki in some cases, and Nicki is really just shooting her down with this aspect. This really can create a lot of hatred for Cardi B, and this really can be one of those aspects that amplifies that hate within their friendship or within this enemy collaboration that these two have going on, especially with Cardi having her son sit in Nicki's 8th house. So, alright guys, well, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for watching. If you are Libra, shout out to you. There's a lot going on this Libra season, and there's a lot to discuss. I actually have my Mars in Libra, so I actually feel more compelled and more activated to produce more content for you guys, and especially in regards to Synastry. So comment down below any requests. There's a lot going on this Libra season. It's very intense, so definitely stay tuned for the part 2 in regards to their Synastry, because these two do have a deep, rich history, and I do feel that if the cards were in Cardi's favor, these two could have been like a mentorship type of relationship. I'll just leave it at that. It could have potentially happened, but there was a lot at stake that jeopardized that from happening. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of viciousness on Cardi B's end that transpired to produce this enemy type relationship. Comment down below if you're a Libra, and shout out to you. This is Libra season, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.